Welcome back. This is Tommy Newberry. In this edition of Achieving Optimal, it's that time of year. I want to talk to you about New Year's resolutions. I really don't want to talk about New Year's resolutions, to be honest. I think they're for losers. New Year's resolutions are for losers. Maybe that's mean-spirited to say, but I think it's true. I want to talk about something that really, really works. But think about New Year's resolutions for a minute. They just don't work. I mean, research indicates that about half are broken before the end of January and 90% by Valentine's Day. I mean, that's just crazy. Why go through that annual ritual that so many people do that just doesn't work, right? In fact, if you Google New Year's resolutions, you'll see all these different polls and data on what are the most popular New Year's resolutions. But think about it. If somebody's waiting till January 1 to make a new commitment or change their life or upgrade something in their life, if they're waiting to New Year's to do it, they're not really ambitious, action-oriented individuals at all. I mean, if you want to improve something in your life, if you want an upgrade, then it doesn't matter what time of year it is. So I want to push you to not ever bring up New Year's resolutions again. You are above that. You are a goal-directed high achiever. That's how I want you to think of yourself. So think about how people do set up New Year's resolutions. They'll oftentimes when they're talking about them, they may have a few drinks in them, right? But they state their New Year's resolutions kind of vaguely, such as eat healthier, get fit, handle my money better, improve marriage. I mean, those have virtually no value at all. They're just kind of thoughts or whims. And if you've been drinking, they even have less value, right? So unless a intention is specific enough to drive some action steps and allow somebody to hold you accountable and there's a timeline or something like that, it really doesn't have any value at all. So New Year's resolutions don't work. Research shows they don't work. New Year's resolutions tend to be set only by those who are otherwise not goal-directed, ambitious individuals. The main reason they don't work, other than what I've just said, is there's no plan or process in place to follow through. And if there's no plan or process in place to follow through, then you tend to keep on doing what you've always done, and you tend to keep on getting the same results. And because there is this lack of seriousness, this lack of commitment, that's why most of the resolutions have about a 1 year expiration date on them. So if New Year's resolutions don't work, what does? Well, I've already said it. Goals work. Here's why they work. Goals tell your brain what to notice and pay attention to. Think about that to yourself. Goals tell your brain what to notice and pay attention to. I tried to distill why goals work to the fewest words that I could come up with maybe about a decade ago, and this is what I came up with. Goals tell your brain what to notice and what to pay attention to. What that means is that once you have a properly formulated goal, a properly articulated goal, you start seeing opportunities, relationships, you start noticing things that you otherwise would not have noticed. And because you notice those things, you take action. And because you take action, you end up reaching your goals. So goals tell your brain what to notice and pay attention to. That's a huge advantage. The more specific your goal, the more activated that awareness becomes. Now, changing gears just a little bit, we all kind of have goals. Kinda. I mean, even people in your life who aren't goal setters, as if we were born goal setters or something, even the people in your life that don't have written, specific, measurable goals, they still have goals. Everybody has goals. And what I mean by that is our brain interprets whatever we think about the most as a goal. It's kind of scary, but it's true. Whatever we dwell upon, whatever we repeat over and over in our mind, gets interpreted as a goal. So it could be something negative. It could be something that we're moving away from or running away from. It could be something that is a flaw. It could be something that we're worried about. I mean, worry, for example, is dwelling on what you hope doesn't happen, but fear probably will. It's kind of an ungoal. So you got to watch out for ungoals. You got to watch out for what you're thinking about when you're not really paying attention to what you're thinking about. A lot of the thoughts that go on in our mind are kind of like having the TV on. You've had the TV on in your house as you're maybe cooking or cleaning around the house or doing other things, and you kind of pick up what's going on in the background, but you kind of don't. You're not really paying close attention, but you're still absorbing what's on the TV. You're kind of picking up those signals. Well, that's how most of us are aware of our thoughts. We're kind of aware of what we're thinking about, but we're kind of not aware. I mean, I think most people would be shocked if there could be a printout, think about that, a printout at the end of the day that would say what you thought about, or every single thought that you had for the day was on a sheet of paper or on a document that you could print out or examine at the end of the day. It would really be a cool thing if we could create that, because then you'd have feedback, rapid feedback loops. You'd be able to see what you thought about and then change those thoughts. It's one of the reasons that dieting can be so helpful if you're tracking what you're eating, and like MyFitnessPal, for example, or some of the other apps that force you to think about what you're eating. Well, that's really, really important. What you put in your body is really, really important. And research shows that if you just track or monitor what you're eating, it changes what you're eating. And the same thing is true if you were to track your thinking. We maybe can't be as precise, I guess, with what we're thinking about as with what we're eating. That's okay. But if we generally keep track of our thoughts, we become more conscious, aware, tuned in to what we're thinking about, then we can realize that some of our thoughts are goal-directed and moving our lives where we want them to go, and some are moving us the other way. And that's the point. If that's what you change as a result of this episode, that's a great thing, to become more conscious of your thinking so you can change your thinking where it needs to be changed. And then if you do that, then everything else in your life begins to improve as a ripple effect. So with your goals, I want you to clarify what you want. That's the main part of the goal. Why you want it, that's what's motivating you or driving you. And then the how. The how is the action steps. How are you going to get from where you are now to where you really want to go? Another thing that rarely comes out with New Year's resolutions is a big, bold, challenging goal. I tell my clients, I have since the 90s, think huge. Think huge. It's not just a motivational slogan. I am really challenging my clients to set goals that they don't know how to achieve. And that sounds ridiculous, right? And I'm telling you that now. Set goals you don't know how to achieve. Why would I want you to do that? Well, I really think that's the only kind of goal that you should set, is a goal that you don't know how to achieve. You want the goal to be a goal that is meaningful to you, that will upgrade your life, that has some great benefits and blessings for you and those around you. But what kind of goal will produce great benefits if you already know how to reach it? I mean, the best goals in the world are the goals that you don't know how to reach. And I have found that a lot of people get tangled up in how, when what they really need to do is just focus on what, launch, and then experiment, course correct, experiment, course correct, experiment, course correct. So little goals produce little motivation. Remember that. Little goals equal little motivation. Big goals equal big, broad motivation. With New Year's resolutions, I mean, people say things like lose weight. That's so weak. Improve my marriage. Weak. Handle my money better. Weak, okay? You can't measure them. Nothing's going to happen. They're going to be a fading memory by February 1 at the latest. So set big goals if you want big motivation. The weird thing is, with the little goals and little motivation, big goals, big motivation, is that because little goals don't produce a big reward. This is crazy, but you can actually become demotivated working toward a little goal because you think to yourself, okay, so I lose 4.5 pounds, okay? I eat a little bit better. I make my marriage, go from a 6 to a 6.1. In other words, if there's not much of a breakthrough, if there's not much of an upgrade, you may not even be willing to pay the little price that you have to pay for the little uptick. So set something big that inspires you and then build the foundation underneath it. Set goals you don't know how to achieve. Your resources, your relationships, your creativity, your innovation, all of those things will rise to meet the level of goals that you set for yourself. The next thing that really distinguishes goals from resolutions is I've never heard somebody talk about the resolutions for each area of life. They usually just throw something out that they're disappointed with, or they throw out a cliche. What I want you to do is set goals for the key areas of life. That's your faith, your spiritual life. That is your role in your marriage, husband or wife, mother, father. It's your business goals. It's your fitness goals, adventure, fun, travel, savings, givings, and so on. That is the key, is to decide what you want, to think huge, to set goals in all areas of life, and then you set the goal, now what? So when we go back to the New Year's resolutions, we know that people set them usually on a whim, or they set them because the person they're standing next to said something similar, or people in a group say, hey, let's go around and ask what everybody's New Year's resolutions are. And people go around and they're not even serious. So even if they were serious, there's no call to action, there's no follow-up. So the next thing that is really different with a goal-directed individual, which is you, I'm calling you a goal-directed individual, is what you do after you set the goal. With a resolution, you don't really do anything. With a goal, you then develop a plan of action. You identify why you want it, as I mentioned before, how you're going to get it. In fact, I have my clients lay out the obstacles. What are the things in your way that might slow you down or prevent you from reaching your goals, and identify them and think of ways to overcome them. And then it's good to lay out checkpoints or milestones. So if you have a 1-year goal, maybe you have a checkpoint every month, or maybe it's every quarter. You predetermine where you should be along the way. So if you're setting it in December or early January for the next year, then by the end of January, where should you be? And you predetermine a number, and when you get to the end of January, you compare your progress to that number. You get to the end of February, you get to the end of Q1 or Q2, you constantly are getting feedback, and feedback is what allows you to course correct and accelerate your progress from where you are now to where you'd really rather be. And then one thing I'm going to challenge you with, you may not like it, you may not do it, but I really push all of my clients to do it. It produces a great ROI, and it takes a surprisingly small amount of time, but it does take a little bit of time. And this is rewriting your goals daily, literally rewriting your goals. You could keystroke them, that's fine, but there's a connection that has been studied between the hand and the brain that is very, very strong. It's stronger than keystroking and that connection with the brain. So I'd prefer that you rewrite your goals by hand every single day. So let's say you have 3, 4, 5 goals, key goals. Those are your top 3 to 5 goals. You wake up, and there's some other things you do during your early morning success ritual. Maybe you read the Bible, maybe you do a devotion, maybe you chug some water, maybe you exercise, whatever it is. But then when it comes time to working on your goals, you start, maybe you have a notebook, that's the way I like to do it, and rewrite those goals. One is like 5 sentences. Okay, you're writing them by December 31st, 2021, by July 1st, 2022. Whatever your goal is, whatever the deadline is, put the date right up there in the front, and then lay out very specifically what you want to accomplish. And then if you're doing what I'm recommending, which will vastly accelerate your progress, you just rewrite the goals as though you're writing them for the first time. This is not a to-do list. This is literally rewriting the goal as you originally wrote it, or if you come up with a better way to write it, which sometimes happens to me, you rewrite it like that for the practice of writing it, for the practice of writing it, for the purpose of ingraining it and etching it onto your brain. That's what we're doing. It's really no different than if I said, I want you to do push-ups every morning. Okay, you wouldn't say, well, I did push-ups yesterday, I don't need to do them today. No, I want you to do them every single day. I want you to rewrite your goals every single day. If you refuse to do it, I'm disappointed in you, but the second best thing is simply to lay eyes on them. It's not nearly as good, nearly as powerful as rewriting them, but reviewing them, looking at your goals every single day is really an awesome thing to do. If you have a whiteboard, at your house or in your office, which I hope you do, one of the two places, that's a great exercise as well to simply rewrite your goals, those top 5 goals on the whiteboard. If you don't want other people to see them, you can write them on the board and then erase them, or write them on the board, take a picture of them with your phone, and it will be part of your ritual that you write them maybe in different colors. That forces you to think about them. It channels all your attention and effort into those 5 goals for the day. You start seeing your experiences and making different micro choices based on the fact that you reread those goals or rewrote those goals. So you write them on the whiteboard, you take a picture of them, boom, you erase the whiteboard and you go about with the rest of your morning. So that's the very key and very important and very underutilized habit to accelerate your progress, to help you get from where you are to where you'd like to be faster. And for most people, that's very, very important. The next thing you can do to manage your goals is to invite accountability from a like-minded individual. That last part is key. So identify individuals in your life, friends, people you respect, people you trust, and vice versa, and share those top 3 to 5 goals with them. Hopefully they have 3 to 5 goals, and throughout the year, this is the most casual way to do it, but just periodically ask how it's going with the goals. How about goal number 1? How about your spiritual goal? How about your financial goal? How about your marriage goal? Whatever the goals are, you have a copy of that person's goals and they have a copy of your goals, and you challenge each other. You look under the hood. You ask tough questions. You get better and better at it. You can have a very business-like approach to it, but like-minded accountability is not something that will happen if you set New Year's resolutions. It's something that only happens if you are a serious goal-directed individual. So I encourage you to set that up as soon as possible. So these are the kind of fundamentals, and it's up to you to execute them, because you want to stand out in this next year and in all future years, not as a cliche-esque New Year's resolution setter, but as a goal-directed, high-performance individual. And this is very important because your success blesses others.